In the latest analysis of Kenya's public expenditure, the World Bank says weakness in projects selection, procurement planning and implementation delays are behind the relatively low public investment outcomes. You can follow the story on page 4 of the Business Daily this morning. I don't know what our panelists think about this particular report. Eseli?
About the funding.
This is the taxpayers' money. Yes. Value
I think
for tax.
It's true because when you look at the major projects being carried out by the government and the rate that institutions are closing down or downscaling on
yes.
employees, we've not created jobs, and in the process you start wondering, where is this money going? Because yes, we see the road is built, but you don't see the economic benefits of it.
Yes.
So I think there is a problem. I think in selection of the projects in the first place, this road you are building, is it going to improve the economy?
Okay.
In any way? So I think project selection is also very key.
Project selection.
Because like if you take the SGR, for example, was it more economically prudent to revamp the meter gauge railway, or was it just good to put an SGR? So when you look at the value of the projects and what impact they have on the economy, it's questionable.
Okay.
So sometimes I wonder, the decision makers, are we saying that there are no more economists in the treasury anymore? Because we used to have, in districts, we had district development officers who were economists actually, and they would actually advise on what needs to be done. Have these people been sacked?
Okay.
Or are they still there? And nobody's listening to them?
Thank you.
Or what is happening?
Right.
Because there is definitely something wrong somewhere.
All right. Otina Molo. Value for tax.
There's considerable truth in that, because it's an issue that goes to the very foundation of the state in terms of accountability and the social contract theory. And in many ways, if we look at the question of the choice of projects, the execution of those projects and the accountability around those projects, you find that there's hardly any project in this country that goes on without some issue around conception, around execution, or around accountability. Yes.
All right. Aaron Chiriot?
I agree. Sadly, I have to agree with this because much as sometimes I'm skeptical about some of these World Bank and IMF funded reports, is that the thing is that the same IMF that today is telling us Kenyans, you are not getting value for money, a few months ago was giving us a green light on how our Moody ratings are good and our ability to borrow. But on this particular one, I agree with them. There is something fundamentally wrong with either our public contracting law or how we undertake projects as a government. Because I've seen this in practical sense, having served now in Parliament, and see how sometimes it's difficult to execute a project that is funded by a government on time and on budget. There are always issues about contract, this or that. There's just something that we didn't do so well with the public procurement law that we did in 2015.
Yes.
And we need to properly look at it. It's a big contributor, that I must say. Then, of course, the latest issue, yesterday I was sitting down with a friend of mine who works in one of parastatals, and he works in procurement, and he shared with me something that is a challenge across the entire government, that nowadays, whenever they have done a tender for whatever works that needs to be carried out, be it services or goods that are to be delivered, and you know the way as a procurement manager you issue letters to people, say, Otiende and Eseli, please serve in this procurement committee. Nobody wants to serve in them anymore. Of course, you understand the issues that have been around, and some people have found themselves in very difficult situation where you find a clerk who is just a member of a committee, because on virtue of signing a report, you are before a court of law, you have to pay 2 million shillings. There's somebody who wants maybe 50,000. And they say nobody wants to serve in those things anymore. So it's this will actually be accurate.
So people are afraid, actually.
People are afraid. Nobody wants to serve in tender evaluation committees anymore in government.
All right, let's hear from Abone Khalwale.
I think I'll agree with my colleagues, but just to add that one huge example on poor selection of projects is the Kulalu Kalana project. Should we have selected it as a project that we wanted to invest in? The answer is no. The second level is that because of impunity, even after that selection is done, deliberately procurement law is not respected, and subsequently, when the project is being implemented, the standards are low to the extent that you find a road where a declaration has been made, for example, that 90 million is being spent per kilometer.
Yes.
If you go and look at the quality of that road, you find that the quality is one for which probably 50 million shillings was being spent per kilometer. It would be nice for Kenyans to remember that the US, for example, it unlocked its economy after the World War by the massive construction that took place in terms of roads and other forms of infrastructure. And how they did it, it is because local entrepreneurs are the ones who are actually implementing the project. And they went even to the extent of creating a facility.
Thank you.
For the entrepreneur. What I mean by this is in Kenya, there's nothing that can stop the government in having a banking facility that would allow local constructors who don't have the capacity, financial capacity, but have got the technical know-how to have access to that money, which they can always recover so long as these local people are reinvesting back in the country.
Right.